Hi there, my name is Pablo Requena, and in this video we're going to see the second part of how to inlay the end strip or the end inlay on the guitar. So in my last video you saw how I cut the slot for the inlay, and if you remember, the peculiar thing about this inlay is that it's got the shape of a taper or of a wedge. So here is the strip or the three strips that I used to prepare the slot, and now you can see the guitar is got the bindings ready, and now is the time, once you have the bindings, now is the time to do this job here. So what we're going to do is that we are going to be cutting some of the excess here, so I'll show you up close what we're doing. So we have three lines. We have a 1 millimeter white, and then 0.5 millimeter black, and 0.5 millimeter white again, and we're going to cut this in such a way that we are able to have a mitre along here. I'm just going to draw it very lightly there, and then we're going to remove all of this, and then we're going to have another mitre in here. Now you have seen in another video that I did some time ago, where I explain a different way of doing the same job here, is that back then, instead of having three facets, so one angle, another face, and one angle, so three facets here, I only had two. But in this case I won't be able to do that, because if I was to have just two facets, what it means is that the point will be coming out of the binding here, and it wouldn't work. So for this instance, because this is a little bit wider than I normally do it, then it means that I won't be able to have just two faces, which is really the simplest way of doing this. Nevertheless, this is not difficult, and we're going to see how to do it. In this other end, we're going to have exactly the same thing. We're going to have a mitre in here. We're going to remove all of this without interfering with the ebony, and then we're going to have another mitre here. And then the same in these three strips. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to clean all of this up, and I want this section of the bindings to be level and flat to the guitar. So with a flat block, all I need to do is I'm going to put some pencil in here so that I can see when the pencil is clean, then I know that these bindings are down to this level there. That's it. So I'm going to clean this up. So now this is all flat, and it means that I'm going to be able to do this job a lot better. So now what I need to do is to get these mitres here. So what I'm going to do is to use one of these squares that it's an adjustable square. So you've got here a square section where you can get 90 degrees, and then this other section will help you to find 45 degrees, which is what we want for a mitre. And even though we have a taper here, which means that actually this is not 90 degrees, so really strictly speaking we're not going to have 45 degrees here. Nevertheless, the angle is so small that we can still work with it, and it will work. And I do it because it's quite helpful to have this kind of aid to mark these things up. So I'm going to get this down to this edge, and I want to be cutting up to this point, so I'm just going to bring this over, and I'm going to mark it with the scalpel here, like that. And I don't know if you can see that in the image of the video, but there is a score line here now, which is going to be really helpful for when I come to do it with the chisel. So I'm going to mark the other one, which I need to do from this side. So again, I'm going to bring the scalpel right to this point where I have the angle of the 90 degrees of the ebony here, and then I'm going to get the square in place, and that's it, marked up. And then the same in this side. I'm going to bring this over to this point, and then this over to here. And in this side, like that. Right, so now that I have those marks, I can use this is a 3mm chisel. Let me just check. It might be a bit more actually, but let's have a quick look. Yes, this is 3.6mm. So let's have a look and see if this is actually not too wide. And it looks pretty good, because even though the width of the white and black lines is 2mm, this diagonal is a lot longer, so it fits fairly well. And then it will also fit in this bit here in the middle, so I'm going to go with this one. So can you see this little line here of the join, which is just there? Well, that's quite useful, because what we're going to do is to cut a little bit over here and then a little bit in the other side until we get to the ebony up here, like that. And there, like that. So now I can sort of scrape it back. And I'm not going to talk too much now, because one of the things that I do for this job is that I need to actually hold my breath a little bit so that the chisel doesn't move too much. So hopefully an image is worth 1,000 words, so a little bit of silence. Okay, so you can see that now I have a very clean, clear line in here, and I'm going to do the other one. Okay, so now I can remove a little bit from down here. Right. So now I'm going to do these ones here. The only thing is that I don't work very well this way, and it's just a little bit awkward for me. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to turn the guitar around, and that means that I will be able to cut in a more comfortable position, which means that it's always going to work out a lot better. So if I just turn around this setup here, I put the guitar in the vise, but obviously instead of squeeze the guitar on the vise, I got this couple of cork wedges that I just put them in here, and that way this has got a good grip. And then I've got this little piece of wood in the shape of an L, which means that I can bring it here and it will hold everything together for me. So like this. And now it means that I can access this other section exactly in the same way that I did the first one. So let's do it. And now the same on this side. There you are. Now a little bit of scraping down here, it will help to clean. And then up here. There we are. Right. So in a way this is the difficult bit, because if any of these angles go wrong, then we're a little bit stuffed, because there's nothing else that we can do but try to change the plan. And instead of doing miters, we had to do butt joints, which they're also fine. But I say that because now we're going to be working with these individual strips. And the thing about them is that if the angle doesn't work out all right, then we can keep cutting until we have the right angle. And the worst case scenario would be that once you have the angle here, then this one becomes too short. And then really, again, it's not a problem, because you can just discard that strip and then start again. Right, so what we're going to do is to start working with this strip here. And I'm going to cut an angle on this end to match this angle here. So with a chisel, let me see if I can get this one here. Yeah. So let me remember, so this way. So I'm not going to mark the 45 degrees like I did before. I'm just going to go and cut it, and then once it's done, we can have a look and see if it fits. Look, it's a terrible cut. Can you see how there's a big angle here and it's not going to work? I need to have a more perpendicular angle there, and the line, the black line, is sort of showing how terrible it is. But nevertheless, I'm going to bring it here, see if this angle from the top is okay, and it's not too bad. But I'm going to correct this so that it's perpendicular, like that. That is a much better result. So if I bring this over here, I can see that this will go fairly well, but the problem is that this is about 2 millimeters, or maybe just under in depth, the slot, but this is a lot wider. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove some of this thickness so that I can actually see what kind of joint I have in there. So I don't need to remove the thickness of the whole strip, but just a little bit at the end, like that. And then what this means is that when I bring this over, then I can see much better whether I like this angle or not. And I'm going to make this even thinner. Like so. And then back in here. And I think I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, this is going to work very nicely. Actually, yes, if I bring it up, if I bring this strip up, it means that actually this angle closes up. So what it means is that I still have a very small angle here. So I'm going to remove that angle. So from here to there. Okay, so that's a good join. Yeah. So now, once I got this, I'm gonna mark this length over to this end, but I'm gonna mark it a little bit longer than it needs to be. It's gonna be about there. And then I'm going to cut it. And I do it a bit longer so that I have the opportunity to you know, I don't think I can get it right just the first go, so it's a good idea to cut it a bit longer so that I've got a few chances. Now I'm also going to bring this end down. And it's a bit too thick still. Yes, that's better. And now I bring it over here and I'm going to put the strip in the right place, and then I can make a marking here like that. And yes, I can see that the angle here is not quite right. So it looks like I'm going to have to work the other way around with this, so I'm going to leave it like that and I'm going to prepare the other strip. So that's the first strip, and I'm going to prepare the strip for the other side, because it looks like these angles are good, but these ones have turned out a little bit too shallow, so I'm going to have to modify them a bit. So I'm going to do this end. Let's have a look. Okay. So it's a little bit open here while it's closed there, so I need to modify the angle very slightly. And that's a nice angle there. Okay, so I've got this tool. I'm going to cut this up to length as well, like the other one. So I'm going to mark it up this end. And I'm going to cut it as well. And I'm going to make this end a little bit thinner, just the same that I've done with the other strip. Okay, and now this over here, I can see that I have the same problem. I need to adjust this. Okay, so I'm going to put that strip there, and now all I need to do is to change this around again. Right, so with one of these strips, and this is the one that goes here, but I can use this angle to bring it here and see what this looks like. And I can see that what the problem is here is that the base or this corner here in the white actually is not all the way down back to the black ebony here. So I need to remove some of this. But once that is done, I think the angle is sort of quite good. Right, so that's what I'm going to do there. So back to my chisel. Yeah, that's it. So that will meet this angle. So if it works for this angle, all I need to do is to do the same in this end, but this one is the one for here, so I'm going to do it with the right strip. And I'm still going to check that this goes there, and it does. So I'm going to mark a line at the longest point that I need to have, and then I'm going to go and start cutting this end, not with the cover. So let's see if I can find a good light like that. Right, so it's still a little bit longer than it needs to be, and that is because I want to make sure that the angle is going well, and let me see, it would go there, but there's a little gap in here, it needs to go down here. So I think I'm gonna have to do another cut in there. Okay, so that's a better solution. So all we need to do now is to cut it to the right length, and hopefully I'll be able to do it the right length. So actually I'm going to make another mark here. I'm going to put an X in there and an X in here. So that I know which way it goes. So right. So the angle is still good, but it's still long. So what I'm going to do is just to cut a little bit at a time until it's the right length. So this is going in better now. So if I get this end in the right place, I can see that this is still a little bit long here. Not by much, but this is where this gets a bit critical because I don't want to make it too short. Otherwise I have to make another strip, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would be nice to get it done today rather than tomorrow. There we are. So the angle is still good, and that angle is good in here. So we have the first strip, and you can see that when I push it on the side, which is where it needs to be, I have a nice join in there, and I also have a nice join in here. Right, so I'm going to put this one to one side. I'm going to do the other one. So this join was already done. So now now I'm going to mark. Yeah, I already had marked this line there, so I'm going to cut this side. There, a little bit longer than it needs to be. And that joint will be fine. So all I need to do is to keep cutting until this fits in here. So the angle, let's have a look at this in here. That's in the right place, and this is still a little bit long. And right, what I think is happening what I think is happening is that I am actually going to have to modify this end as well. So I'm going to put here a couple of lines to be able to differentiate it from the other one. And I'm going to get this and there you are. And here's my strip, and that's it. That fits very nicely now, and but it's still just a little long, so I still need to cut a tiny bit out of the strip for it to fit in. And there we are. Right, so the two strips are ready, and what we're going to do is that I'm going to put a line in here because I want to see that this is gone down as much as it can, and the same in the other one. Because once I start gluing everything together, I want to know that the strips have gone in as far as possible. So let's have a look at the three of them together. So I'm going to get these two strips in place. This is going to get a little fiddly here, but hey, it's part of the process. And then I'm going to get the strip in there. And it's nearly gonna go in, but not quite. This is actually a little bit too thick, so it means that it's not gonna travel all the way down. So what I need to do is to remove a little bit of material of one of the sides here. So I think I'm going to clamp this. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to clamp this block on the bench like that, so that it doesn't move around, because what I want to do is to take this out of here. I'm going to mark this up first. So I think if I got this gap here, I reckon this is going to come to about there. So what I'm going to do is, very carefully, I'm going to wrap this up and down here, and in the other side. And you see how now the gap that we used to have is going to get smaller. And that's what's happening, but we still have a bit more. And we also want to do this slowly, because you don't want to find that this ends up being too thin. But if it was too thin, all we need to do is to remove a little bit of the end. So there's always a solution for everything, really. So a little bit more. Nearly there. Okay, that's there. This is still also nice and tight. So I'm going to clean this a little bit with the chisel. Because I want to have a nice clean surface where to mark the end of the strip, which it's going to be in there, and from this here, from this side into there. I want it to go in just a little bit easier, so before I cut it to length, I'm going to make it just very slightly thinner, because the thing is that as soon as I put the glue in place, it's gonna be a little bit harder to get it in. So let me see this again. Yeah, that's better. And then we're gonna push this in. And then nearly the same thickness as that, so that's quite handy because we can push everything together to get everything in place. So what I'm going to do is to remove a little bit of the thickness in this end as well, so that I can later on push on this end with the corners as well. I'm going to be here very careful not to damage the guitar. Okay, like that. Maybe a little bit more here. There. Right, so I think what I'm going to do as well is that before I remove the strip, I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape to help with the position of the strips. So I'm going to stick the masking tape very nicely into there, then I'm going to bring it down. And stick it very well into the white strip, and then I'm going to cut this off. Because I don't want the strip to go forward or backwards, because I don't want to have problems with the joints later. And just having a little bit of tape there is going to help me to keep them in the right position. That is, if I can put the tape in. Okay, and now I've got these marks there, so I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to cut this in the right place. I'm going to need to have good light here to actually see what I'm doing. There you There we are. Now let's bring the light back in here, and it might still be a little long, but we'll see. I'm not going to put it in because it'll be really hard to take it out, but I want to see. It is already hard to take it out. Well, I want to see if the length is correct, and I can see that it's still a very little too long because it doesn't fit in. So what I'm going to do is to hold it straight up and just drop it back a little bit, and then back into here. Still too long. Too long still. That's it. So now this will go in. So if it goes in, it means that when I put this in here and I force it in, it will go in all the way down. But I won't do that, otherwise it'll be really quite difficult to take it out to be able to put the glue on. So now that I know that everything will work, what we're going to do is to gently move this out of the way and move this out of the way, but you can see how these pieces of tape are holding everything for me. I'm going to get a little bit of glue in each one of these, so I'm going to put some glue in here, in there like that. The same in the other side. I'm going to hold it because I don't want the strip to fly away. And there. And then I'm going to have some in my strip here in the middle. And I know I have here a lot more glue than I need, so all that's going to happen is that there's going to be glue squeezing out into places where I wouldn't be able to spread it into. Right, so let's do it. There's no turning back here now. But I want to get the glue into here. So actually I'm going to put it in. That's it. I'm going to do the same in here. There you are. Oh, there's a lot of glue here, but we'll see. All we need to do is to clean a lot after we put this in, but there you are. So now I'm going to put this into here, clean this off, and I'm going to put this end into here as well. And this is going to need a little bit of persuasion. In the form of a hammer. So I'm going to drive this in a little bit. That's it. And now let's clean a little bit more glue. And with this stick we can make sure that this is going down going down there and there. And now I can take this tape off, and I can see that the line that I made over there is all the way down, and the same on this side. So now I know that this is gone down as much as it can go. So I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning here to remove as much glue as possible, which it will make the job of cleaning all this up easier later on. There I can see all the miters are really nice and closed. Like that. And then I'm gonna go and get a long clamp. So I'm gonna put this clamp in the middle. Like that. And I'm going to, where's my hammer here? Yes, I think this is good. Great. So I'm very pleased with how this is gone. You can see this is time consuming and it's fiddly, but it's very doable. And if any of the strips became too short or one of the angles went completely wrong, then you just got a little bit more strip to work with, or if you have run out, you can always make a bit more. And really where you have to be really careful is when you cut the miters on the bindings that are on the guitar already. But you can see if you do it carefully and you mark everything up nicely, then it's not too difficult. So I hope this is helpful, and it will encourage you to do this job and go for it. You can see it's not so difficult. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one.